what if we did choose to listen well first? And again, as Itzel just said, it's not the only choice. It's not the choice you'll always want to make, but it is an interesting inquiry about how that conversation might unfold differently if we choose to listen first. And, nonviolent communication has a lot to say about the how-tos of listening. For this morning, and in this very loaded context that we're talking about, we want to offer these 3 ideas. The things that is like a hallmark of listening is that you're going to keep the focus on the speaker rather than bringing it back to yourself and your point of view and how you differ and your own reactions. You're going to do what you can as a listener to keep the focus on what they're saying. And you're going to do that by sending the message verbally and non-verbally to the speaker that you want to hear them. You want to. And that can be really hard if they're saying things that you kind of don't want to hear. And then you're going to communicate with care that you've understood what the speaker has said. The with care is trying to honor where they're coming from. Maybe there's something in there that you can relate to. And another way of trying to capture what this slide says is to say that we're going to set up a conversational choreography where one person speaks and the other person listens for what really matters to the other. And that conversational choreography is so different from the one of our original role play and the way these typically go, which is more like a ping pong game, where it's back and forth and defend and offense, and maybe you can get in a slam and make your point. This is such a different feel to it. And I wanted to represent this graphically as well. It's got this calm kind of feel, like we know who the listener and who the speaker is. And there's invisible here too, and that's you. That's the person who's bringing the skills to know that this conversation is going to go better if we know who the listener is and who the speaker is. And it's one at a time, and we really try to give each perspective its due. Now, the thing about giving each perspective its due is that it can be really hard to do that if you're worried that the person is going to think you agree with them. Has anybody had that trouble doing empathy? That you're worried that they're going to think, oh, I'm agreeing, I'm being so agreeable. Our line that we want to offer you, and really if there's just one line you walk away from today with it, I would nominate this one, Itzel. I don't know what you would say, but the notion that you can say, it seems like you and I are thinking about this differently. You see, you got it right out there that you're not agreeing. It seems like you and I are thinking about this differently. I really would like to understand your perspective. So I'd like to listen and hear you. And if you're open to it after that, I'd love to share how I'm thinking about it. That if you are able to say that, then that can give you some peace of mind to go ahead and sit there and listen, because they won't think you're agreeing because you just said that you're not. We were going to try a role play again where we're trying to use these skills. Yeah. Hey, JJ.
Hey, how's it going, Kathy?
Doing pretty well. Can't believe we still got COVID.
I know. On and on, on and on. Have you been reading any good books lately, at least?
I have. Thank you so much for asking. There's this book I really want to tell everybody about. It's Isabel Wilkerson's book, Caste. She offers the analogy to the Indian caste system with how race works in this country, particularly what it's like to be a Black person in this country. And it's so powerful, so persuasive, and it's changing my perspective on both on US history and on where we are now. So meaningful.
Wow, you mean like there's a caste system here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what she says.
Wow, that seems really extreme.
Well, she's got me, Isabel Wilkerson has me convinced that it is really a meaningful way to think about it. I'd love to hear what comes up for you when you hear that word caste associated with US society.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a fit at all, right? I mean, the caste system was just like people were really kind of locked into their situation and there was nothing they can do about it. But here you can completely change your life. Everyone has that chance. So it just seems completely, it just seems so different. Can't really imagine what she might be saying.
Yeah, it sounds like there's just such dissonance for you from what you know about the Indian caste system and what happens here, which in your as you've seen, there's mobility for people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I know so many people who are, so many of my personal friends have these stories of how they've completely changed their situation. Their parents are so proud of them that they've been able to completely change the situation for themselves and even for their whole families, support their whole families. It's just, yeah, it just feels so different. And I mean, that's one of the things I love about being here to meet, people like that, hear so many beautiful stories like that.
Mm-hmm. That in your experience there are many people who have been able to dramatically change their circumstances, that if you're in the US, you're not fixed into the place you were born, which is sort of sounds like it's the definition of a caste, basically. That's not your
Right.
experience.
Yeah. And in fact, really the opposite. Like one of the beautiful things about being here in the United States is that, and that's why so many people come, is that you can completely change your situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
Yeah, there's excitement and pride about that. And that
Yeah,
in your sense, it's a defining characteristic of states. What
yeah,
makes it a really special place
exactly.
and an attractive place to people to move here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. I can tell that the notion of applying the word caste to the US brought up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And having read this book and thought about it some, I am still really looking at it differently. And I'm curious if you have space to hear some of how I am thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And cut. So let me start where we started last time, Itzel, about kind of your experience being JJ there.
Yeah, it was great. I noticed I had no sense of defensiveness come up at any point. Um, and then by the end, I felt completely like heard and accepted. And then by the end, when you said you still didn't agree, I was like, wow, what do you know that I don't know? Like I was genuinely curious, so it was very cool. It was very cool.
Wonderful. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it actually was also less tense. It's like such a relief not to have to fight, like not to figure out what should my next point be. And it takes some focus to hear you, but less tense for sure.